Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Virtual Visioncon 2020. I am your host, Zack Wilson, but you didn't come here to see me today. You came to meet the one, the only, the master builder himself, Chris Leffel. Chris, how are you doing today?
Great. How are you guys doing today?
Oh, dandy as candy, Chris. Now, Chris, you are the leader, or at least part of the club KCR2 Builders Club. And you want to talk a little bit about what that is, kind of what it's a subsidiary of, and just kind of the inner workings of it?
Yeah, sure. So basically, we are a bunch of hobbyists. We just love to make things because that's what we're all about. And the main thing that we focus on is the astromechs from the Star Wars universe. It can be anywhere from the R2s to the R5s, the one that blows their motivators, such as that. And we just do that. And we're just a big bunch of group of hobbyists that get together. We don't get together too often because we usually save those for conventions. Of course, this year, kind of limited. But we do get together. We help each other along. We've got Facebook pages. We've got forums that we can read and reach out to others. And so we're able to build our R2s based off of that assistance and that information. So it's really a neat thing. We don't have any hierarchy. So we're all just group builders, basically. And then we've got, so that's the Kansas City R2 builders. But then we also have the Worldwide Club, which is the R2 Builders Club in itself. And that's accessible through astromech.net. Huge amount of resources. I always make jokes and say that, if they had people that were able to try to work out and get rid of cancer, I think if we got all the R2 builders together in one room, I think we could beat it in a couple of days. I mean it's just huge.
And these aren't, and I just want to be clear, ladies and gentlemen, these droids and, the R2 units and such, they aren't just like, glue and popsicle sticks. No, these are the real deal. I will say at Visioncon last year, the physical one, you guys were set up kind of near, the 501st, and, you had a couple of your R2 units, just kind of moseying around, and I saw this little girl, could not be, she was about at my hip, ladies and gentlemen, and she, from the complete opposite end of the floor, she saw it and was just running faster than I've seen anyone ever run, just straight up to it with tears in her eyes, and it was the cutest thing. And so, you guys do a phenomenal job. Now, Chris, how did you get into this? Did you just kind of see it one day and was like, I want to do this? Or were you always a builder since birth?
Well, I've always been a builder since birth. I've built go-karts from pieces of woods that I've found on construction sites or trash or whatever. I've always kind of built things to begin with. My dad used to hate it. He bought the first Amiga 1200 computer. I had that thing tore apart within the next day, and my dad came back from work and saw this. Was like, oh. So yeah, I've always been intrigued with anything electronic and how to make things. So it's been always my dream. And I, being from a kid when Star Wars was out, I love Star Wars, and R2 was always my favorite. So I always thought someday I'd want to build an R2. Here I am.
Well, kind of sequencing into that, you also said there are other droids that there are separate clubs for, that they're kind of still in kind of the same faction. Do you have any of those on hand by chance?
Well, so I do have one. This is the mouse droid. He's kind of hard to see. Let me back up here a little bit. But he's just a little four-wheeled RC car that's got a body. It's out of fiberglass or plastic. This one's a plastic one. And then he's got all 3D printed, what we call greeblies, little pieces that attach to give it basically a little look to it. And then printed circuit boards. And basically he's just an RC car. But this is a mouse droid. And if you remember episode 4 of Star Wars, Chewbacca yelled at him and he went screaming the opposite direction. So that's what this guy does. And he's got some speakers in him. He's got an RC car. He's got batteries. Got quite a bit into him. I've probably got a couple $100 into him just to build it. But that's the mouse builders.
Chris, I gotta be honest. Like, if you told me, or if someone told me, like, hey, this right here, this was the mouse droid that was in Star Wars Episode 4. Like, I'm not telling you sycophancy. I'm not lying. Like, I'd believe them. Just be like,
Well,
yeah, I mean, that checks out.
and that's a 1-to-1 exact replica as well. So I mean, he's the exact size that they used for Star Wars. So that's the great thing about with our Builders Club is we try to stay within exact measurements to try to keep it where the same thing as the movie was using. I mean, if you look at this is my dome of my R2. This is all aluminum, which there are several different types of ways to build them. I wanted to stick with the 1977 version of R2, which was all aluminum. So he's 250 pounds for a reason. But this paint, I think we spent probably almost 4 months trying to find the right paint to match from Episode 1, Phantom Menace. This is one of the droids that was in the starship, Queen Amidala's, and that went up to try to fix the shield generator when it busted. We had very few screenshots to use, but we worked painstakingly to try to find the exact color.
Oh my God.
We came up with it.
I mean, those are amazing. And like I said, just like the mouse droid, like if you told me that was the one that was in the movies, I would totally believe you. Which kind of gets me into my next question is you're obviously a seasoned builder and a lot of your peers are as well. But if someone wanted to, kind of get into this, but are either novices or just haven't done it in a while and aren't ready to produce the quality of work that, you and some of your more experienced peers, could make, is there like a place for them in this club, or would they have to kind of build their skills first?
No. See, that's the great thing. We've actually got a 12-year-old that's building her droid right now. Full size, 1-to-1, exact replica. She's building hers right now. And she's doing a mixture of materials, metal, wood, resin, 3D printed materials. So she's using a lot of different items to be put together her one droid. So yeah, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. You don't have to be an engineer. I mean, literally, that's what I love about the forums. There was a lot of things that I did not know how to do, and I learned it by reading. When we were in kids in school, we always talked about research. You always have to read. You have to learn how to do this math, how to research for this history project. It's the same thing with building anything that you want to build. You have to do the research to find out how it's going to be done, what it takes, how you go about it. We are a YouTube universe now, if you think about it. So that's another form of research.
Yeah, it works. Hey. Well, and on that note, the world's currently in a pandemic and we're all, staying at home. But, when the world's not in a pandemic, what are kind of some of the things you guys do? Do you guys like go to other events and like show off your works? Do you guys like communicate with one another regularly, meet up, anything like that?
Well, so we're really active on Facebook together within our R2 Builders Club and within the Casey R2 Builders. We actually have our public page that you can access just by searching Casey R2 Builders, and you'll find our page. But we also get together for, within our area, we've got comic conventions. So we usually do Visioncon. We've got Grand Island Comic Con. We've got Planet Comic Con. Ocon in Omaha, Nebraska. What else did we do? We did 9 conventions last year alone.
9?
Yeah, within the Midwest. And well, we also did Tennessee as well. ICCC. Yeah, there we go. Too many C's. But we also do Children's Mercy Hospital up here in Kansas City. We usually try to go once a month. With the 501st and the Rebel Legion, and we take the droids around to see the kids that are also stuck in a hospital. And so kind of it's a really neat thing for them. So we've seen a lot of kids, just like you talked about with the one running across the hall. They can't leave their beds, but they are like wanting to leap out. So yeah, we get to see those.
That is so sweet. I mean, not all heroes wear capes, clearly.
Right. We also do library read events. We've got Olathe Library and some other libraries around here that they do Star Wars Day reads. And so we'll go in and kind of be there for photo opportunities, interact. We did Maker Fair here in Kansas City at Union Station. which is more focused on, hey, instead of the magic where we try to hide, we try to be right there, have R2's head off, kind of show what it takes to build it, what's inside it. So it kind of makes it more interactive.
I like that.
And then we also do schools. We go to a lot of the schools to talk to the kids and show them what it takes to build, because we're all about pushing how to make your own stuff. You know, we want you to be hands-on. We don't want this to be the Android and Apple, all electronics thing. You just looking through your screen. That's all you're doing. You know, we want you to be a hands-on kind of thing. So we're always pushing that with the kids. So we push research and we push working with your hands and building stuff. So it's a really neat avenue that we have to reach out to the younger kids as well.
I really like that. That is really cool. Kind of encouraging them to, make the mistakes and learn from them and just kind of, do things on their own, without, just buying it pre-made.
Right.
Which I got two last things to ask you before we sign off on here. Number one, is there anything like common mistakes, common, things that new builders, especially building this kind of stuff, viewers who are kind of watching this and was like, hey, I want to start doing this. Is there any advice or tips or things to avoid to do them? What's up?
Never rush.
Never rush?
That's the thing everyone tends to do is like, oh, I got to build this. I mean, you got to realize, to build my R2, it took over 2 years to build him. So it wasn't something that I had done in 2 months. Now, I've got a guy that's got an all plastic R2 from the ground all the way up to the dome. And then the dome is aluminum. That took him 10 months to build that. But that was working every day after work up till like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And he was doing that for weeks on end just to build the body. So, it can be done quicker, it can be done sooner, just a matter amount of time you've got. But the thing is, you can't rush it, because you rush it, you make mistakes, and then that mistakes cost you on time. Sometimes it costs you on money. It's just a lot of redoing that, you just don't want to do,
Absolutely. And then one final question. Okay, so let's say I am a viewer right now who is like, I really want to do this. This sounds awesome. Sounds right up my alley. How do I get involved and how do I reach out? Can you tell us what links, where to go, anything?
So basically the steps. So the steps to go are basically join astromech.net. That is the biggest thing that you can do right off the bat. It has got a huge amount of resources on their website. It's got everything from the forums themselves, which gives builder logs. It's got a newbie section, so you can read all the little sections on terminology, basics, identification, getting the idea of different R2s and all the versions they have. And then you also have the builder logs. Then you have a breakdown of every little section, like body, electronics, dome, legs. It just so many resources to research. And again, that's where I focus on the research part. But then you also have the Facebook page. So you've got the R2 Builders Club, which there's 2 versions that I've seen so far on Facebook. I'm a member of both of those. And then you also have the KC R2 Builders, which is our public page. You can come and chat with us on that as well. Yeah, and then there's stuff on YouTube as well, because I know there's a couple of builders that have done pages or YouTube videos on how they built their dome or attached equipment and stuff like that. So it's kind of very resourceful, very helpful to look at as much research as you can get.
And ladies and gentlemen, we'll include all links or anything that you guys can go to have a more easier access to this sort of stuff. And I think that about wraps it up. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for joining the Visioncon 2020 virtual exclusive interview with my man, Chris Leffel. Chris, you have any final words?
Just be safe and make things.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you soon.